Father, we thank you and honor you for the day that you've given to us. And also, we just take time to bless you for your goodness and your mercy unto us, O Lord. I ask that you speak through me to your people, that we would be diligent to hear and also to apply what you're saying unto us. And I welcome you, Holy Spirit, on today in this time, and we thank you. All is well. All is well. Let's turn to Mark chapter 4 and verse 35. Mark chapter 4 and verse 35. And once you get there, let's just shout out miracles. That's Mark chapter 4 and verse 35. Miracles. Mark chapter 4 and verse 35. Okay, let's get started. Mark 4 and 35, it says this. And the same day, when the evening was come, he saith unto his disciples, and this is Yahushua was talking, let us pass over unto the other side. Again, he says, and the same day, when the even was come, he saith unto them, let us pass over unto the other side. All right? So Yahushua is telling his followers, his disciples, those that are with him at this time, that let us pass over to the other side. In other words, there's a set destination that the Lord has destined for his people to go to. Okay? Now, if you notice, the statement is very short, very direct to the point. He doesn't say anything of how it's going to happen. He didn't say anything in terms of how long it was going to happen. He just told his people what? They're going to the other side. You follow me? Very short, very simple to the point. Let us pass over unto the other side. And what I would do is kind of relate that to, you know how sometimes we hear the Lord tell us things about our life and, you know, about situations, and many times we immediately, what? I know for me, get excited. I do. Get very excited and ecstatic that I'm going from one place in my life or one part of my life to another, or get excited to know that certain things are going to happen, and as we just sung, that it's turning around. And right here, again, the Lord says, let us pass over to the other side. Verse 36. He says, and when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was. And there were also with him other little ships. So we see here that the disciples and those that are following the Lord, they took the Lord as he was. In other words, they took what he said for face value. You see that? And they began to implement or put into action what the Lord said was going to happen. Look, we're going to go to the other side. We got these ships, so we're going to go over there to the other side. You follow me? And it's like they're implementing exactly what the Lord had told them. And I can imagine at this time they're very excited about it. You know, I'm happy because, you know, things are changing. I'm here, and in a certain amount of time we're going to be over there, and I can see it happen. I got the Lord's confirmation on it, and I'm implementing everything that the Lord told me to do because what? I'm going to the other side. You follow me? Okay, good. All right, 37, it says, and there arose a great what? Storm. Again, and there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship so that it was now full. So you mean to tell me that you hear the Lord's voice, you begin to do what he tells you to do because you know that things are changing in your life and that he wants certain things to happen for you, and all of a sudden, a storm happens. Now, do you notice that, here I'm reading again, but it says something very important. He says, and there arose what? A great storm. So it puts that word in front of it, that the storm was not just a storm. It's not just any old storm. Because you know that most ships are able to handle, winds and rains and, minute storms. That's not too bad. But it begins to describe not as the storm, not as any old storm, but it says it was great. It was a great storm. And what that would mean for us is that our testing and the trials, the intensity of things that we begin to go through as we're following what the Lord has given us, it becomes great. It becomes great. And you see that this storm was such of a magnitude and so great that the boat that they were in, the ship that they were in, was full. Full of what? Full of water. Now we understand what happens when you have a ship and it fills with water. What happens? It's supposed to sink. Right. So just begin to, if you begin to place yourself in the situation that the disciples are in. So they hear the word of the Lord, let us cross over to the other side. They begin to do what the Lord told them to do. And then all of a sudden, here is a great storm. Not only is it a great storm, but the vessel that they're in is beginning to sink. So the vessel that they're in is beginning to get full of water, so that it would seem as though it is going to sink. But now, at this point, there's an opportunity here for the disciples. And the opportunity is this. Do I believe what the Lord told me? Do I believe his report? Or do I begin to analyze this situation, analyze the storm, and analyze how the fact that my boat is being filled up with water so that I'm supposed to naturally sink? Which one should I do? That's where the disciples are at. They're at a very pivotal point in their lives in terms of what they're going to do. Because you understand that even though the Lord tells you things in your life, you have a decision that you're going to have to make. Yep. There's a decision you have to make. Will you believe and trust and follow, or will you take the other alternative and sink like the boat is telling you to do? Because you understand, just think about it. I don't know if you ever been on the boat, but those of you that have, anybody? Yeah, okay, good, all right. So if you haven't been on the boat, the way it works is this. You're in the ocean, nothing's around you. There's nothing, you can't see anything to the left, to the right, front, back, nothing. You have nothing, you just have your boat, okay? And once you go deep in the ocean, you're short of land, okay? You don't have anybody's support. It's just you and this vessel that you're in. Right? And when you're in the middle of the ocean, you can only swim for so long, because after a while, your body's gonna fatigue or what have you. And in addition to that, if you're in the middle of the ocean and your boat does happen to sink in a great storm, you're likely to drown. You follow me? Okay? So that's the situation that they're in. They're in the middle of the ocean. Their boat is being filled up with water. And all they have is what the Lord has told them. They have that one thing. But everything around them, the storm around them, is telling them this. You're going to sink. You're going to drown. You're going to die. It's just not going to happen. That's what the storm is saying. You follow me? So the storm is saying to them, no. Your destination is not to the other side, like the Lord said, but your destination is right here in the middle of this ocean. Matters not that you trusted the Lord. Matters not that the Lord told you to go to the other side. But the storm is telling them the only thing that matters right now is what's happening right now in your life, which is a great storm, which is going to fill your boat and make you die. That's what the storm is telling them, okay? And they have a pivotal decision as his disciples as to whose report will they believe. Will they believe that they'll go to the other side regardless of the storm? Or will they believe the storm and just sink right there? And you know, many people find themselves at that position in life. Some may be there right now, where they have to make a choice of who or what to believe. And unfortunately, there's some that have gone before us that made the choice of not believing the report of the Lord. There's some that may have sunk right there. But there's nothing really we could do what may have happened before, but it's something we could do right now with ourselves. Whose report will we believe? The storm or what the Lord said? Now follow this. If you notice, the Lord gave them the outcome before anything happened. You follow that? The Lord told them, you're going to the other side. We are going to the other side. Before the storm happened, before the rain happened, before the flood, the boat began to flood, before any of this, the Lord already spoke a word. And his word was very simple, very direct to the point. Let's cross over to the other side. But you see, the storm was talking a whole lot. The storm kept raining and thundering and lightning, all this kind of stuff. You see, the storm was saying a whole lot of things. You follow? But the word of the Lord was very simple. Let us pass over to the other side. You see that? But the storm kept speaking loudly. You know that's how the enemy does, right? A lot of times when he's trying to get you, he has to send a whole lot of attacks against your mind. He has to send a whole lot of attacks, whether it's at your family, whether it's you. He keeps going, keeps at it. And the Lord's word is very simple, very direct. Pass over to the other side. You follow? And the thing is, whose report do we believe? Let's keep going. All right. 38. And he, this is Yahushua, was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him and say unto him, Master, carest thou not that we what? Perish. So you know whose report they were believing, right? Because they said, you know, first of all, they saw the Lord. He was asleep on a pillow. And they say to him, don't you care that we are perishing, that we perish? Who said that? You think about it. Who said that we are perishing? Who said that? Do you see that? The storm said. The Lord said nothing about perishing. Remember, his words were very simple and to the point. Let us pass over to the other side. Did he say we're going to perish right here? No. But the storm said, through all of his speaking, you're going to perish. And so, therefore, the disciples began to say what the storm was saying. I'm going to perish. This is not going to work out. This is too much. I can't take this. I'm this, I'm that. And they began to receive what? All that negativity. And not only did they receive it, you know that they received it because it came out of their mouths. And the Lord is very clear that as a man thinketh, so is he. So they were thinking it, and they began to speak it. And that's how they began to act, very fearful, very afraid, very nervous, very intimidated, to the point that they were ready to what? Give up. Because the storm said, you are going to die right here. I got you. Now you understand the storm didn't care anything about what the Lord said. This situation didn't care anything about the Lord. The Lord said, the enemy, what he's after is to make you give up on what the Lord has already told you. Any and everything that the Lord has already spoken, you believe me, the enemy is going to challenge it. He's going to challenge it because he doesn't want you to succeed in the Lord's voice and in the Lord's wisdom and what the Lord has for you. His job and his objective is to make you fail just like he did. But you don't have to do that. You have a choice in the matter. And the choice is this: either believe the report of the Lord or to believe the enemy's voice. And at this time, their faith at this point in time has gotten weak. And because their faith was weak, they began to say what the storm was saying. We're perishing. Lord, don't you care that I'm perishing? Don't you see me? You see all the storms. You see the wind and the rain. You see this. Now, there's nothing wrong with telling the Lord things that you're dealing with, because we need wisdom. But they stopped right there. They stopped at how bad it was. They didn't seek counsel. They weren't seeking wisdom. They were just saying, Lord, don't you care that we perish? The thing about the storm is this. You know, the Lord, we understand that he's all-knowing, right? He knows everything. He understands everything. And so the Lord already knew the storm was coming. He already knew that. That was already apparent. And you know, he didn't say anything about a storm. As he told his disciples, let's pass over to the other side, as his disciples had received him, he didn't say anything about it. Because at this time, it really wasn't about how bad the storm was. And we're going to find out what the Lord was doing here, but let's keep going. Let's keep going. All right, verse 39. And he arose and rebuked the wind, and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was what? A great calm. Do you know what the Lord wanted for his disciples? He wanted them to have peace. Yeah. Regardless of what was going on in their lives at the present time, regardless. He wanted them to walk in peace. And you know how we know that? He had displayed it for them. What was he doing before his disciples woke him up?
Sleep on his pillow.
On a pillow, right. He was asleep. In other words, the storm wasn't affecting him. He understood that his words were so powerful, it didn't matter about a storm. He knew that. And he wanted his disciples to understand that. You know what? Yes, you're going to be tested. Yes, it's going to be extremely challenging. But you know what? If the Lord gave you something, stick with it. Because it's going to work out. As long as you keep trusting him. But the main thing, one thing we got to focus on is not saying what this enemy is saying. Not saying what the situation is saying. But saying what is the Lord telling you about this situation. And what has he already spoken on the situation. What has he already said? It's very important. Very important. And that's one reason why he said meditate. Meditate. All right, let's keep going. 40. And he said unto them, Why are ye so fearful? How is it that ye have what? No faith. So, one thing that his disciples and the Lord was dealing with his disciples was fear and a lack of faith. Now, he didn't say you have just a little bit of faith. He said no faith. Because you know what? They didn't say anything about what he said already. They didn't say anything about we're going to pass over to the other side. They didn't say, Lord, you see these storms, you see this, you see what's going on. But you said, I'm going to pass over to the other side. I just need wisdom on how to deal with it. They didn't say anything like that. They only said, we are perishing. Don't you care? Notice the voice of the Lord was not in their hearts at all. It was only the voice of the situation. It was only the voice of the situation. So we look at, as we get to look at and analyze the disciples, one thing we realize is that they were the Lord's disciples just like we are. So what that means is we can be tempted just as they were. Tempted to what? Tempted to give in to the situation. Tempted to give up. Tempted to throw in the towel, as some would say. So the question is, how do we overcome this? How is it that the Lord can be in the same situation, the same storm, in the same boat, in the same ocean at the same time, but have peace? And those that are with them not have peace. How is it that we can graduate and be promoted from being people that are fearful to those that have peace? Because if we just stay at, well, yeah, the disciples were afraid and, they had to deal with, fear, and the Lord rebuked them because they didn't have any faith and all this. If we stay there, then guess what? We'll fall just as they fell. You understand? Mm-hmm. So what we have to do is begin to, as we talked about last week, have a self-eval of our own self. Analyze, where are you? Mm-hmm. What has the Lord told you that maybe you gave up on? Because the situation seemed to be too intense. And he said, okay, well, the situation says no, so I'll just say no. Now, I know the Lord put me here. I know what he told me, but you're not believing it anymore. I encourage you today, pick up your faith and don't give up. Because the thing that we don't want to do is, just because there's a storm, a great storm, just because it seems as though we're going to be overtaken, if the Lord didn't tell you that you're going to be overtaken, if the Lord didn't tell you that this is the end of you, then that's not the end. If the Lord never told you to stop right here, then that means don't stop, but continue to pursue what he has told you to do. All right, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Let's go over to Matthew. Let's go over to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. Mark chapter 5. One chapter over in verse 21. Shout out miracles. Miracles. All right. Mark 5 and 21. Watch this. He says, and when Yahushua was passed over again by ship unto the other side, much people gathered unto him, and he was nigh unto the sea. Verse 22. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet, and besought him greatly, saying, my daughter lieth at the point of what? Death. Okay. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, so that she may be healed, and she shall live. And Yahushua went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. Okay. Verse 25. And a certain woman, which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, was nothing better, but rather grew worse. When she had heard of Yahushua, came in the press behind, and touched his garment. For she said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. And Yahushua, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press, and said, who touched my clothes? And his disciples said unto him, thou seest that the multitude thronging thee, and sayest thou, who touched me? And he looked round about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him, and told him all the truth. 34. And he said unto her, daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace, and be whole of thy plague. While he spake, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house certain which said, thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any further? Now, so we're talking about a few things here in this particular passage, but I want to first talk on Jairus. So if you remember, Jairus had a daughter that was initially what? Sick, right? And she was close to death, but she wasn't dead. But Jairus requested of the Lord that he come and heal the daughter, and the Lord was in agreement. So he prayed, and the Lord agreed and said, yes, I'll do it. And he was on his way to heal the daughter. But during the process of time, as he was on the way to heal the daughter and actually heal another woman, what happened to the daughter? She died. Okay. And not only did the daughter die, but there were those from Jairus' house and told him, you know, why do you trouble the master? Because your daughter is now what? Dead. Again, we're at the point, Jairus is at the point, just as the disciples were, a very intense and pivotal point of their life. The Lord is on his way to heal the daughter. On the way, in the midst of healing the daughter. And not only that, but has already healed someone else. And then all of a sudden, the report comes back that now your daughter's dead. And to add to that, those from his house, those that he knew, those that he had taken care of, those that knew him personally, those that even knew the daughter, began to say, you know what, there's no hope for you. Why? I don't even understand why you pray. I don't even understand why you believe anymore, because now your daughter is dead. Do you see this? And so, not only does Jairus have to deal with the fight of, okay, the Lord said that he would do it, he was on his way to do it, and then now all of a sudden she dies, but then those around him are saying, you know what, there's no need to even believe anymore. You shouldn't even, because she's dead. Now I know the Lord said that he would heal her, but no, she's dead. It's too late. It's too late. And you see all this negativity that even a believer has to deal with. Some of the negativity comes directly from the storm. Some of the negativity can come from people that you know. But the question doesn't even lie in the negativity. The problem isn't even in the negativity that you hear, not even in the storm, but the issue is whose report will you believe? So when you hear what the Lord has already told you about the situation, now notice he's not acting on his own accord. The Lord was in agreement to heal. So when you get the report of the Lord, when you know what he has told you, then the battle becomes, will you continue to pursue and will you continue to believe what he has said? Despite what the situation has said, despite what others around you have said, despite even your own mind. Are you going to believe what the Lord has told you? And that's right where he is. I'm going to read this one more time. Verse 35. 35 says, while he yet spake, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house certain which said, thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any further? And you know, a lot of people right there will tell you, you know, there's no hope for you. You keep trusting the Lord, you know, all that praying, and you've been telling me that the Lord said this and that, but you know, situation not lining up. I don't understand why you even believe anymore. Why should you even believe? You know, that's where many people would tell you right there, even especially family members would tell you, you know, you don't need to believe in that. You're just wasting time. But I'm going to tell you, one thing about trusting the Lord has nothing to do with exterior situations. Nothing. As we see, this young lady had died. But it has everything to do with will you believe or will you not? And I'm telling you, if you find yourself right there in this situation where you've heard what the Lord told you to do, but yet the situation says quit and give up. Don't give up. Keep trusting. And please understand, with the disciples passing over to the other side, with Jairus right here, with the ruler of the synagogue right here. They weren't doing what they wanted to do. Their faith was not in, I just really want her to be healed, so I'm just going to hope and pray. No. The Lord was in agreement. They got a word from the Lord. It wasn't just, to step out on faith and just do something. No, that's not what it was all about. They had a word from the Lord. They had a choice to believe in what the Lord told them. It wasn't from their imagination. It wasn't just something they just wanted really bad. It was the voice of the Lord. That's what was being attacked. Not their own opinion, not their own feelings. So once you have his voice, once he has told you what to do, the fight then becomes, believe or not, trust him or not trust him. Let's keep going. As soon as Yahushua heard the word that was spoken, he said unto the ruler of the synagogue, be not afraid, only what? Believe. You see, what was attacking him was fear and his faith. Because when you really just analyze this particular situation and understand what was going on, the daughter was dead. She had died. She had passed away. She was gone. And then the Lord said, just believe. Don't be afraid. Just believe. And notice, when did he say it? When did he say it? It was immediately when? After she died. When it was immediately after the negative report. Why trouble the master anymore? Your daughter's dead. And then immediately Yahushua steps in and said, no. Only believe. Only believe what I told you. So that tells us negativity is going to hit. These attacks against your faith, they're going to come. But then what does the Lord say how to deal with it? He says, don't be afraid. Just believe what I told you. Just continue to believe and stay the course that I put you on. Believe what I told you. I know she has died. I know what the situation is saying, but just believe what I told you. Let's keep going. 37. And he suffered no man to follow him, save or except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. Okay? And he cometh to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and seeth the turmoil, and them that wept and wailed greatly. And when he was come in, he said unto them, why make ye this ado, and weep? The damsel is not dead, but sleepeth. Now watch this. So, Jesus had followers, and he had disciples, but only 3 were allowed to come. You follow this? Now, if we keep going, only 3 disciples were allowed to go, and those that were weeping and wailing, he's going to kick them out. But if you just take time and think about how foolish it is if we don't trust the Lord. Now, we may not think it when we're in the heat of the battle, heat of the situation, but watch this, of how contrary the enemy is versus what the Lord says. The enemy in the situation caused those that were around the dead daughter to weep and to wail, to cry, to mourn, to be sad, to be depressed. You see that? That's what the situation was calling for. I'm going to read it again, so make sure we understand. It says, 39. And when he was coming, he said unto them, why make ye this to do? In other words, why are you doing this? And weep. The damsel is not dead, but sleeping. They were weeping. They were sad. That's exactly where the enemy wants you at. All sad and depressed, crying. Over what? Think about it. They were sad because in their mind, there was what? No hope. But to the Lord, there was a lot of hope. Because he already said, I'm a healer. He already said it. And so again, here's the thing, here's the battle that we as the Lord's people have to face. When the situation is saying, no, all hope is lost. No, just give up right here. No, just be sad, just cry about it, and just stay right here and just wallow in where you at, right there. And the Lord is saying, no, don't be down. Don't be sad. Do not give up right here. I just need you to believe what I told you. All right, let's keep going. Verse 40. We're going to read that in unison. 1, 2, 3, read. And they laughed him to scorn.
But when he had put them all out,
he taketh the father and the mother of the damsel, and them that were with him, and entered in where the damsel was lying. You see that? And they did what? They laughed at him. Who were they laughing at? Who were they laughing at? Or what were they laughing at? The word of the Most High. You see that? Now, watch this. If we just look at what's going on. Just look at what's happening. The situation made them weep, cry, sad, lost hope. And the voice, they were so far removed from what the Lord had said, that what the Lord had said in terms of being the healer, it was now funny to them. They weren't laughing because they were happy that the Lord was here and he was going to heal. No. They were laughing to scorn. In other words, to mock and to say, you know what? How in the world are you going to tell me that she's not dead when she is dead? I don't have a pulse. I don't have this. I don't have that. She's dead. Now you're going to tell me she's sleeping when I see that she's dead. Now you're telling me that you're here to heal this person and she is dead. Well, we medically dead. I don't know the medical terminology for it, but she's dead. And they were laughing, making fun of, mocking what the Lord had said, his words. Because they were so far removed. This storm, this situation the negativity had gotten so much in them that what the Lord had said was nothing to them. As a matter of fact, they scorned it. They said, you know, I don't have any time for this. I don't have time for faith. I don't have time to believe anything because it's dead. It's useless. So that's what they were dealing with. And you ask yourself, where am I? When I began to meditate and think about what the Lord told me years ago or months ago, whenever it was, and look at and line it up with this situation and see that they're contradictory. But then where's my faith at? Their faith was in death. Their faith was in, okay, it's not going to work out. That's where their faith was. Their faith had nothing to do with what the Lord had told them. You see this? And so you ask yourself, man, you know, where am I at? Is it funny now to hear and think about the promises of the Most High? Is it something that I laugh at? Not because I believe it or I'm so overjoyed about it, but because it doesn't even make sense anymore. It was almost like they were just blowing him off. They were blowing him off. Let's keep going. Verse 40 still. And they laughed him to scorn, but when he had put them all what? Out. He put them out. Now, you see with this negativity and things that go contrary to what the Lord has said to you, he had to put it out. Why would he do this? Why would he put them out? Because he understood that faith and doubt, they just can't go together. Either I believe what the Most High said, or I don't believe. But I can't do both. And if you notice, the Lord came into this house, into this house. So because the Lord was there, and the Lord was allowed to come into this house, everything that was contrary had to leave. And that's one of the beauties of allowing the Lord to deal with you in your situation. When you begin to receive and accept what he has said just because he said it, things that do not match up to the voice of the Lord, it has to go. And you have to release it. Because you understand that these people were in this house. But when the Lord told them to go, they had to go. And the ruler had to agree with it. Because those that were in the house, they were like servants, family members. But the Lord, when the Lord told them to go, the ruler here, he had to agree with, he had to be in agreement and say, okay, y'all got to go because the Lord said you got to go. And it's the same with us. Things that are contrary to what the Lord is telling you, things that he's saying, you know what? You can't keep talking like that, or you can't keep believing that way. You can't keep saying these things because they go against what I told you to do. You have to say, you know what, Lord? You told me not to think that way or talk that way. Let it go. If it's contrary to what he has told you, let those things go. See, because at this time, the Lord had not physically healed this damsel, this girl. He had not physically done it. Because there were things that had to be taken out first, which was the doubt and the unbelief, the worry, the depression, the loneliness. It had to go. The fear had to go. And that's why it's so important, so very, very important, that who you surround with, who you surrounded with, whether it be those that believe or don't believe, it's very important. You make a choice to be with those that are going to stand with you in terms of what the Lord has said. Let's keep going. Verse 41. And he took the damsel by the hand and said unto her, Talitha Kumi, which is being interpreted, Damsel, I say unto thee, arise. And straightway the damsel arose and walked, for she was of the age of 12 years, and they were astonished with great astonishment. And he charged them straitly that no man should know it, and commanded that something should be given to her to eat. You see? Stay with what the Lord told you. Because he'll do what he told you. He will do what he told you that he'll do. Just stick with it. Stick with it. As long as you have the Lord's voice on it. You have his word on it. Not yours. Not how you feel. Not what you think. But if his voice is going to happen the way he told you it's going to happen. Now, you may not get all the details, because even in healing his daughter, the Lord never told him that the daughter was going to die on his way. He didn't say that. He just agreed to come. But no matter what is transpiring in your life, keep in mind what the Lord has told you about. Keep that in the forefront. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's difficult. But just like the Lord did, when he heard that negativity, he stopped it right there and said, no. Just believe. Don't be afraid. Just believe. Those disciples that were destined to go to the other side, they made it to the other side. But all that negativity has to be out of their heart. You got to get it out. You can't listen to the storm. Notice the storm talks a lot. And what was the storm saying? The storm saying, this is where you perish, right here. Right here in this ocean, this is it for you. This is it. The storm was saying, too much water. There's too much water in the boat. You're going to die. You're gonna be overtaken. You can't make it. That's what the storm was saying. No, you can't do it. You can't do it. But the Lord would say nothing to that effect. And the thing about it is, who do you believe? Now, like I said, it's really simple to come up with the answer. Oh, just believe the Lord. Believe the Lord. That's the good answer. But if you gotta be honest with yourself, who do you believe? And that's something you have to ask yourself. Who do I believe? Who am I believing right now? Who is it? And if you can say that, I really haven't been believing the Lord, you got to repent. You have to repent to get it right. Because the thing about it is this. If you look at those that were in the house of this daughter, how they were laughing and scorning what the Lord had told them. But then actually they were depressed and they were sad. But on the outside, but then they're laughing on the outside of what the Lord said. If that's where you are, you got time to repent. You have to get it right, because the thing is, we can't take the Lord's word and just throw it away. He's serious about what he said. So when he agreed to follow and heal the girl, he was serious. And there's nothing that can stop what he said. When he tells you something, nothing that can stop it, except for you. But the situations, even death itself, can't stop what he said. Can't stop what he promised you. But you gotta hold on to his promises. Hold on to his promises. Hold on to his promises. Because he is faithful. And he'll do what he told you he'll do every time. But just believe. Just believe. Just believe. And today, if you don't know the Most High as your Savior, we invite you right now to make the best decision of your life, whether it be it here or watching by way of social media. If you're ready to make that decision to live for him and to follow his ways, just repeat this prayer after us. Father, I ask that you forgive me. I confess that you suffered, died, and rose again just for me. Thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for saving me. I ask that you lead and guide and direct me and fill me with your Holy Spirit. All is well. All is well. If you prayed that prayer, you made the best decision on your salvational process, step one. Next thing you want to do is to get a Bible. And you want to read in the first 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, so that you can learn about the Son of the Most High, Yahushua. Next, you want to start in Genesis and work your way down through Revelation, so you can understand who you are and your destination for eternity. Also, you want to get in a church that can teach you about the Most High. We're the Salt and Light Church here in Douglasville, Georgia. If you're in the area, we'd love to have you out. If you're not in the area, give us a call. We'll help you to find a church home and even to get a Bible if you need help to get a Bible. The vision of the Salt and Light Church is to see mankind become productive in every area of their life, so that we, the body of Christ, may have a positive effect on our society through